And we're back. It's another Neville and Chill live stream with friends. Welcome back, everybody. So, tonight, I just wanted to start by saying that one of my favorite things about what we do here on this channel and the wisdom that we talk about, the wisdom that we teach, the wisdom that we apply, is that it really does affect every aspect of our lives. This is the sort of wisdom, we call it we call it a meta skill. We call imagination a meta skill, meaning it's a skill that when you develop imagination, it develops all of your other skills. You get better at everything that you do in life when you invest time in developing your imagination. And the show that we have for you tonight is the perfect example of this because the guest that I'm about to bring on for you all uh, is really the embodiment of how to apply the skill of imagination to really live a very rich and fulfilling life. And of course, tonight, the primary topic, what we're all gathered here to experience is, of course, a love story, a beautiful love story between two people. We're going to meet one of them tonight who really walked an incredible bridge of incidents in life to meet each other and to find your soulmate, to find the love that you've been seeking. I mean, there's just something so beautiful about that, and I see our Neville and Chill tonight as an opportunity to both celebrate love, celebrate a love story, and also to celebrate the wisdom that really can lead us down this path towards living our most rich, fulfilling, and abundant life. And so, without further ado, it is my great honor and pleasure to introduce you all to a good friend of mine, Angela Haley. Hello, Angela. Thank you so much for being on Neville and Chill with us tonight.
Hello, Josiah. Hello, friends. It's truly my honor to be on Josiah's channel. Thank you so much for sharing my love story tonight. Thank you so much.
So Angela, we've known each other for about 2 years now. And I met you when you came to one of my retreats. I did an event called the Portal Retreat in upstate New York, and you traveled a very long distance to be a part of this event. And you actually met what is now the love of your life at this event. Can you tell us a little bit about that just to get us
That's
started? Yeah.
correct. It's totally exactly what Neville said. My ways are past finding out. It was the last thing I was expecting that would happen on that trip.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I had a lot of resistance going there because I was in Hong Kong during COVID, which was a lockdown for 3 years. So I was living in a hotel. I had all my
Mhm.
things there. The airport was basically like a ghost town because nobody got out of the country. And I'm like, seriously, I really want to go, but. And there I went. And I was so just beside myself. Everything that happened almost like, did I know that was going to happen? No. But hey, I did everything from the inside, and that's what happened on the outside. And
Mhm.
all I could tell was it was a complete no action manifesting on my end. It was a very
Mhm.
clear, deliberate, conscious manifesting on my end because even Josiah had known me for 2 years. I mean, now you have known me for 2 years. I have known you for way over 2 years. I've been listening to your channel for since 2017. And so
Mm.
I have learned so much from your channel. It's not the first time, but I finally knew what to do. That
Mm.
before that trip, I finally knew what to do, and I did the things I needed to do to manifest my true love and my marriage. And da-da! And then things like that was
And
the last thing I
yeah,
expected. And
yeah,
upstate New York, yeah. And
yeah, amazing.
I was
Yeah.
delivered to his door, where he grew up in Manhattan, New York City.
Mhm.
And he said it was like Amazon Prime. You were just delivered to my door.
I love that. I love that. So your husband Tamer. So okay, so Neville and Show, we set this up really cool for you all. So we're bringing on Angela tonight, and then in 2 weeks we're going to hear from her husband Tamer and hear his perspective on everything that you're going to hear tonight. So you're really going to get this from two angles, and I feel like that's really special because a lot of times you just hear from the woman, right? You just hear the love story. Oh, we met and this and that, right? But we're going to hear it both ways here on Neville and Show. So we're going to start with you, Angela. We're going to kind of get into your story and hear not only about what happened, but also the wisdom. So I wanted to start just by introducing you a little bit, and then obviously I'll let you run with it. But um, I just wanted to start by pointing out that Angela is a certified practical psychoanalyst. You're also a relationship coach. You're also a lawyer, and you had applied many you had applied what you have been learning because you've been a student of metaphysics for a long time. You've been manifesting consciously using imagination for a long time. So you've applied this in all the different areas of your life. You use it to achieve great success in your career as an attorney. You're also now a certified life coach, relationship coach. You know, I see some things here. Certified dream builder coach, life mastery consultant, and you have a lot of experience working with people. So I point that out to say that, not only are we going to hear your story tonight, but we're also, you're an expert teacher. You really are a master in terms of helping people understand how to apply these ideas. So I'm really excited that we get to both hear about what happened and also gain the insight of some of your wisdom of how you were applying the teachings as we weave this beautiful love story. So let's start at the beginning, right? Let's start with your backstory. I'm just going to let you kind of start humble beginnings. What's Angela's origin story?
I was born, and as everybody knows, nowadays it's part of China, but still, we live in this city, also a special administrative region that is very awkward because when I was born, it was a British colony, which means we have our own basic, our constitution, our basic law, following the British laws, and we're under the British administrative control, legislature, as well as like the judicial arm. So just like America, everything was very British. Um, and at the same time, we were Chinese. So like 90% of the people there speak Chinese. However, our culture is pretty Western, and we don't even know how to speak Mandarin. Like normal Hong Kong people do not speak the language that is spoken in China. So I bring this part up because I assume the American audience would actually find this quite interesting. What is it like? Most schools were Christian schools, so I had to do studies for my open examination for university, for high school. I had no religion to begin with. Also, maybe half of the population or less than half were Buddhist. And we commonly share one identity is like a lost puppy identity. Like I did not feel that I belonged anywhere. I had a British passport, I still do. I'm not British, obviously, and I don't have a Chinese passport. I like we have a no identity, and I didn't know how much that actually spread into every area of my life. That even made me keep dating foreign men, which is like not a problem. Like at the beginning, it was so awesome. Like when I went to school in Australia, I was like dating Australian men or like other European men, and then I lived in Italy and France. I was dating European men. That was all fun until I realized that started to become a problem because I didn't feel I belong in my relationship. So that would probably lead to like the essence of my love story later on. But early on, based on that background, the cultural background that I came from, I knew stories in the Bible. I didn't understand anything that is set in stone. Like we're not bound to a religion. Most Chinese people are very superstitious. They like to look up feng shui. They like to take their kids to see this feng shui master and get their life read. And I had actually been very very fortunate, because I remember when I was just 4 years old, I had this one experience that lasted a lifetime. I wanted this Barbie, like I really wanted this Barbie with the peach gown, and my mom said no. And I remember I said to myself, I can have it anyway. I don't care. Even if you say no, I will get it anyway. And on my 4th-year-old birthday, the auntie next door bought exactly that Barbie for me.
Ah.
She had no idea I wanted that. And I feel like that was such a fortunate event in my life, because all my Chinese students had one singular shared wound from childhood. My mom said no when I wanted that toy. And the no thing becomes God says no when I wanted this man.
God
I
says
wanted
no when
to
I
God
wanted this
said
man because
no when
mom said no when I wanted this toy. Wow. What a
life
connection.
said no to me. Life
Mhm.
rejected my request. Life
Yeah.
rejected my need and wants and desire.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. Then I realized I was very fortunate, because I had this singular 4-year-old event that really reminded me I can have anything I want. Even my mom doesn't want to give it to me.
Mhm.
And fast forward to when I was 14, my mother took me to a fortune teller, just like every other Chinese parent.
Yeah.
Um, oh, that master, the feng shui master, was expensive, but
Mm.
it was a completely like a. I don't really know what story he gave me. He said, "Oh, you're going to go to university so that you can meet your husband. You've been married by 24 and live a life of a lady of leisure." I'm like, really? That is very boring. I really
You
do
can
not
get
want
your
a life.
money back, Angela.
I was just 14, and
Mm.
it's funny because I remember clearly at that moment I had this set out. I said to myself, there must be a way we can have anything we want, and when I find out what it is, I'm going to teach other people.
Mm.
That's
Mhm.
crazy, because that was the intention I set out when I was 14. And so, um, Josiah, you mentioned that I was fortunate. I was studying metaphysics in all ways, because
Mhm.
I made that decision for myself. I was
Mhm.
interested in knowing the solution and the cure and the answer to life very early on, almost like it was a blueprint for me, and I didn't know other people weren't interested. But
Mhm.
I started to even drift further away from the common society. I feel more that I don't belong. That's the problem.
Mm.
Like, I don't belong. I'm a weirdo. I'm a freak. And to be very honest, a lot of Westerners actually think that Chinese people in the East they are very awakened. They are the monks, and they are the Tao, and they are the Zen. To be
Mhm.
very honest, the most awakened people are all in America. That's why you find all the teachers here. That's why all the teachers are in America.
Mm.
This is the land of free for some reason. It's the consciousness, I guess, the
Mm.
consciousness in the land that allows teachers to come through. And when I was only 18, I started reading the Seth materials. That
Oh,
was
yeah.
the first set, yeah, of influence that I had in my life. And not
Mm.
like I understood very much, to be very honest. That was quite a deep set of readings for a teenager. But I still managed to, I started using some of the tricks that I knew. I started manifesting some big ones, a
Mhm.
lot of money for college. And so I
Mm.
got myself into law school. I got myself into Australia in law school. I I then even applied for the visa, applied for school myself. I was accepted by a top school in Australia. I was wow, yay! I was just so excited. Didn't care about anything. I'm like, yeah, just keep rolling.
Using manifestation from what you had learned from the Seth material, from metaphysics, you were using this and applying it and getting the scholarships, getting the money for college, getting accepted into the university that you wanted to go to. That's
Yes,
great. Yeah.
yes.
On a
And
roll.
that still sounds like the smooth journey that I had. Like
Yeah.
we're still
Of
going through
course, of course. Yeah.
my humble beginnings. It
Yes,
was
yes.
quite smooth. Um, and yes, and I was accepted, and I wanted when I was actually yeah I started manifesting. I so one of those teachers that really influenced me was Seth, and
Mm,
then also Abraham Hicks, and I
mhm,
had yet come to the Neville's world yet. I was still waiting for the answer. I'm like, why is it this way sometimes?
mm,
Why is it that way sometimes? How can I use one singular theory to explain this
mm.
complex
So complex.
situation? Yes,
Mm,
so complex. And I was so fortunate. I went into the first law job. I manifested myself into a wonderful job. It was a Wall Street firm, and little did I know when I was an Australian lawyer, I'm like, wow, I didn't know they pay so much in America. No, honestly, if anyone is from
Yeah, we
Australia,
like money over here, definitely.
exactly, three times
Mm,
more in the
3
law
times,
industry,
yep.
3 times. When I first got my first job, my best friend back in Australia said, "Whoa, this is a partner's salary in Australia," and I was a fresh graduate.
Mm,
And I manifested myself into passing the New York bar exam. That was another story that I would really like to share maybe another time, because I did maybe 100 mock papers and I couldn't even get the pass mark. I could not even pass during a practice paper for 100 times.
mm,
Like, I was just missing something. And then in
mm.
the end, I'm like, fine, I'll just fly to New York, do the exam. If I don't pass it, I'm not going to do it again. It's too hard. And after that, I went home and I used my manifesting trick to change the past. Like,
Yes.
Never talks about this a lot. So in
Yes.
my consciousness, I was very clear. I go into the end of seeing
Mhm.
my name on the board of examiner. They would publish the names of everyone who has passed the exam. I
Yes.
only did it 5 minutes a day, saw my name on the published board, my name there, and just sat with my feelings. I would let myself just soak in that feeling of seeing that I passed it. Just did it for 5 minutes a day. And then the pass mark was 120 when I did it. That was 2012. No, I did it
Mm.
12 years ago.
Wow.
And in the end, I received an email from the New York Bar Examination Board saying, "Congratulations, you got 154 score." I'm like, "No way, I only got up to 119 during practice. How did I?" There's no other explanations
Mhm.
than that I did my manifesting work
Yes,
faithfully. Still,
faithfully.
at this time, I didn't understand very much because that was still right before I met Neville. It was
Mm.
still right before that. And I still continue on. I use manifesting for 7 jobs in law, almost like
7.
testing it. Yes,
Okay.
7.
Testing the water, yeah.
I wanted to try everything. I wanted to
Yeah.
work in Australia, okay. Then I wanted to work in London, and I
Mm.
wanted to work in Hong Kong. I was trying it in different countries. I was trying it in different areas of practice. I was just trying it out to see how things could play out up to a point that it was exceeding industry practice. Almost like um, there's no way this could happen, and I made it happen. Almost like
Mm.
I wanted it so hard, I so bad.
Mhm.
Either I go to Harvard now and redo my 3 years law school,
Mhm.
which I doubted. I mean, I had to manifest myself getting into Harvard, and I had to manifest the money to pay for Harvard,
Mhm.
right? Or I just manifest myself getting into that job. Okay, I'm gonna choose number two. I'm gonna
Yeah.
choose. Then 4 months later, I got into this Wall Street job that was made for Ivy League school graduates, and
Mhm.
they took me in. And even the firm didn't know. And what is very interesting was because I started building my stage, I started building my identity, and I built my case for why I should be in this firm as
Yeah.
their lawyer. And when I got in, that's exactly what they told me. They were like, "Oh, you were recommended by London, and they said you were this and this and that. And we thought if you don't have 2 heads and 4 tails, we're going to take you in anyway." And the things they said were exactly the case I built for myself. And
Building
that
the identity.
totally explained
Mhm.
Neville said, everyone is you pushed out. Like
Yes.
they were just saying what I was hearing in my imagination. And I didn't
Hmm.
know that was imagination. I didn't know before I completely learned what Neville was teaching. It was still things that were working for me, things I could reteach, but I was gathering information. Like for one job, I did this. For the other one, I did this. For the other one, I did this. So exactly what did I do that was right? I don't know. I just did
Hmm.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So all of them were correct. So I at that point I could prove that anybody can get any job they want and any pay they want
Yes.
without qualifications or experience.
Yeah.
Um, and then now we've probably gone into the a really interesting part of this. And in 2015, I was living a charm life in my ideal Wall Street law job as a lawyer, as a hotshot corporate finance lawyer. Yet, my love life was a mess. It was horrible. It was horrible. And I didn't know what I did wrong. Like, why could I manifest all these things? Money, yay. Passing the exam, Barbie, yay. And actually, by that point, I already manifested the body that I want. And I used the same for my post baby body because
Mm.
I just had a baby. He turned 1, and then my body immediately went back to how it used to be pre-pregnancy, just
Mm.
6 months later, without me doing anything. I only worked on my consciousness. I did nothing.
Mhm.
And so about the love life part, 2016, I decided I needed to know more, something I didn't know. So I would travel far. I went to LA. I did a lot of certificates. I learned a lot about psychology. I trained to become a psychotherapist. I trained to be a love coach, relationship coach. All these things, it was really for me because I was a mess. It was not really like I didn't really aim for coaching people. I just aimed to fix myself. That's something I
Mhm.
didn't know. And what was very interesting was my father passed away in 2015, and a part of that search sort of went too far because I was really drawn to something mysterious. I really wanted to know, is there some way I can connect with him? Like I started to want to find an answer. Is there a way I can connect with my father? And I didn't know it was lurking in the background in my subconscious mind that
Mm.
I wanted to know if he's still here, if I can still talk to him.
Mhm.
Where is he now and all those things. And so um, that was like both me seeking a solution to my problem, and just to let everyone here, I suppose everyone who is interested in hearing my love manifesting story was actually really magical. Um, must be also someone who has a lot of experiences in love, and especially in painful love, and especially in in painful love patterns. I call it
Mm.
a pattern because I didn't know why I would be. It could be somewhere in Australia, it could be somewhere in Europe, it could be somewhere in Hong Kong, that I was with somebody in a relationship or not in a relationship. They didn't know each other for sure. I was in a different location. I was at a different age doing a different thing. I was a student and I was a lawyer and I was in this job, I was in that job. But hey, how come those painful love stories repeated themselves over and over? What is wrong with me? And all I knew
Mhm.
was me because I knew manifesting, but I didn't know what was wrong with me.
Mhm.
And what is it about me that repeated the pattern?
Mhm.
And what was interesting was um, I knew the problems. I knew I kept dating men that were not what I wanted. They made me feel lonely. They made me feel I didn't belong. We had very little connection, let alone nobody had the level of consciousness spiritually that I do, which was not, I didn't even know I wanted it until I met my husband.
Mhm.
All the men I met, I met, I don't mean all the men, I meant all the men I met were proving to me that I am just so lonely.
Wow.
Lonely, I'm alone, I don't belong. Um,
Reflecting back to you that state that was in your subconscious that had become a pattern. Yeah.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So I respect a lot of manifesting teachers. I think most of the manifesting teachers in the East are still brushing on the surface because they may know some of Neville, they may not, but what
Mhm.
they teach is how you make that person yours. How do you manifest a specific person? Of course, because Neville used it too. But then these teachers in the East, most of them, are still teaching people how to manipulate the physical world, which is what we're doing here.
Mhm.
But little did they know that no, you actually transforming yourself. It's
Mm,
you who is changing, not the outside world. The outside world is only a 3D screen of space, like a printer,
mm,
directly printing out the content of our consciousness. And our identity is just us reflected on the physical world. And so, no matter how hard they tried, like a lot of Chinese students came to my life ever since I became a coach in 2016. I have maybe taught and coached over 7,000 hours up until now. Most of them are Chinese, so I know the flaws in this culture. I know the superstition. I know the problems of this obedient culture in the way their schools brought these kids up with like no, they don't know themselves. They don't feel that God supports them. Like even the atheists, even China people who believe they're atheists, they still believe in a God that controls them and doesn't allow them and rejects them, their desire. And so I had several of those problems, but I didn't understand. Like, no matter how much I did, like with the jobs, I could manipulate my environment. With money, I could manipulate my environment. But with love, it's something so intimate. Why
mm,
is it that I haven't been able to, like, because it's something so abstract, it's something I cannot touch, I cannot see. How do I manifest it? How do I have what I want? And at that point in life, it's funny because I guess I was still seeking that ultimate answer, and I was
mhm.
very close. At the same time, I was also seeking an answer to my dad. And boom, like life gave me the biggest gift of going into the dark night of my soul. I found
Okay, okay, yes, yes. Isn't it funny how that works when you get like that peak moment and then the dark night of the soul emerges?
I
Yes.
thought that was the peak moment. I thought that was like, oh my goodness, I found this connection with this boy out of my visit in. So I finished all my trainings in LA. So I
Mhm,
went to visit my best girlfriend. I was her maid of honor, and she got married and moved to Sweden. So I went with her to Sweden and then met a boy, and then there was like a little bit of attraction and some connection. Immediately I found the twin flame code. It's funny because I was really seeking. I think like probably everybody who found the twin flame code is either they're really seeking to awaken something within themselves, or
mhm,
they're seeking to connect with a deceased family member.
mhm.
And I found it out of both.
Okay, but
Out
yeah, okay, so hold on right there. So the twin flame call, so that's an actual thing that happened,
yes.
and you were featured in a documentary that's on Amazon about the twin. Can you explain what the twin flame cult is and was?
Yes, the name I believe everybody can still find it. The name of it is called Twin Flame Universe.
Twin flame universe.
Yes, at the beginning, I was actually the founder, like one of the founding students. So when I started, there were only 9 people,
Oh,
and
okay.
they had good intentions. They were teaching people how to love themselves. They
Mhm,
had good intention when I started, but later on, it became all very strange.
mm,
Um, and I would tell Josiah and the audience some things that made me new found, and realized it was a cult.
mm,
So all along, the male teacher was saying that he was channeling from God. And so whatever he said is what God wanted to say to us. And I'm like, okay, sure. Oh, God said that the Swedish boy is your twin flame. You must move to twin flame. Otherwise, you are not listening to God. You're not following God's guidance. I'm like, sure, move to Sweden. And then I actually said, actually, I don't feel that he is. Like I said it 3 times. And then he's like, I'm the professional. I'm not going to argue with you. You must listen to me. Okay. Like you must obey me. You must listen to me. And then things started to get very strange. About 3 months after I was in Sweden, um, they call it the harmonious union. When the twin flames are finally committed together, then they will announce that they are in a harmonious union. It's very culty. It's all very culty. And
Harmonious union. Okay. Okay.
yes, I was seeing this boy, but I would not say we're in a harmonious union because we weren't living together, we were married or engaged.
Yeah.
And suddenly, like 3 months into my time in Sweden, the female teacher, the female of the couple, wrote
Mhm.
in a platform of the school, of the Twin Flame School, that Angela, this is a warning from God. You must come into harmonious union with your twin flame now. Otherwise, you'll be sent back to China. And immediately I knew
Whoa.
she was a scam because I do not have a China passport.
You're like, hold on, hold on.
God would know I have a British passport.
You got your facts wrong. Yeah, that's really funny.
Exactly.
Wow.
So I naively wrote that on as a reply. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry, Shalia, but I actually have a British passport. I don't need a visa to be in Sweden. And the couple private messaged me and bombarded me with like insults, saying, how dare you, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, uh-oh. Something's wrong here. Okay, so then the same month, something else happened. The male teacher started to claim that he was the second coming of Jesus Christ.
You
And
know, if there's one thing that's a red flag, I would say that's probably it. Yeah, that's probably the
that was
red
the
flag. Yeah.
biggest red flag to me. That was
Yes.
the second thing that happened. I'm like, nah, like no.
Yeah.
And at the same time, what was really strange was because at the beginning I still believed they had good intention, but up until that point, I realized that they were starting a multi-level marketing company. They were selling their classes through their students. So every student has to work for them. They have to run coaching, they have to run classes and business meetings with newcomers and enroll them into buying the classes
Mhm, mhm,
and get a commission. So they were all not paid a salary. So they were
mhm,
all working for free and they were working over 12 hours a day.
mhm,
I just walked out because I knew that was wrong. That was the reason. Yes.
mhm,
Um, I got my husband to help me check. So that documentary was actually for the former students, including myself, that
mm,
became the whistleblowers of the cult. So I was
mhm.
whistleblowing the cult. That's what I was doing.
Whistleblowers of the cult. Yeah.
I was contacted by Amazon Prime, and the crew that were making the documentary has made the name. I believe is "Desperately Seeking Soulmate" is the name of the documentary in Prime, and the
Mhm,
same was actually happening in Netflix. Netflix also exposed the same cult, and the
mm.
name is "Escaping Twin Flames Universe." Escaping Twin Flames Universe. And I watched it with my husband, and he couldn't stand it. He's like, I could not believe how intelligent you are, and you buy into that. And I'm like, when you're in trance, you're in trance.
Okay, so let's not just gloss over this though. Okay, so this is representative of a state because
Yes.
you knew that there was something that you were missing and you were looking for it on the outside. And so these people, you manifested these people coming and saying, "Hey, we've got the secret sauce. We've got the answer to your problems. We've got your dreams come true. We've got your soulmate, your partner, your twin flame." And so the part of you that hadn't clicked that last piece together, because this is before you met Neville, right? So that part of you that was still looking on the outside for something that you had not yet given to yourself was
Yes.
was initially attracted to this idea, but of course it led into the dark night of the soul, meaning that then you really had to go through this reckoning of what have I gotten myself into? This is a mess. These people are, you know,
Yes, yes. I left law firms. Even my boss was kind enough to say, if you decide to come back within 3 months, I keep your spot open for you. You decide to come back from Sweden, because I'm not licensed to practice in Sweden.
Mhm.
Like, I have been licensed in several jurisdictions, all common law based, and so I left law, and then I started teaching and coaching full time because of that. So a little bit of good started to come
Mhm.
out
Yeah.
of that situation. My stage, as Josiah was mentioning, was I don't understand, or I don't know, like I'm a question mark, and I realized that is actually a state. Like, I don't know.
Yes.
I don't
Being in the state of
understand.
not knowing. Mhm.
Yeah, not knowing. I still think I don't know, but I actually do. I do know. Like, I do know.
Mm.
Everyone listening to Josiah, you know how this works. You are God of your reality. Your consciousness is the only reality. You know. And so I don't know, and especially I think when it came to my father, I'm like, I don't know about this world of the unseen, of the unknown. I want to know the spirit world, and the question marks got me into it, and also the question mark about why am I a mess. So I'm a mess is probably already an
That's a
identity.
state also. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
also a state, yes.
Mhm.
So how did I know about Josiah? I
Mhm.
was in Sweden, and out of that, I was also in Greece, because I was actually staying with the family of the boy
Mhm.
that the twin flame cult told me to get with. But the family took care of me, and they were also living in Greece, and I had the possibility of helping, or like not helping them, but I partnered with their family business to try to open a Greece Airbnb business. So that was a potential opportunity before COVID hit.
Mhm.
And so I was in Greece, and I was alone all day long, every day. I started searching for more. I needed to know more. And I started listening to Josiah, and
Mhm.
I read The Power of Awareness. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is what I have been looking for all my life. That
Mhm.
one single answer. What you assume to be true, even false, must harden into fact.
Mhm.
And I was listening to Josiah talking about states. I was listening to Josiah reading every single book. I was into Out of This World. I was into Feeling is a Secret.
Mhm.
I re-listened and re-listened and re-listened, started to really absorb what is true, because one of the effects of the coach was it really messed up my mind to know what is true or false anymore. At that point, I was very confused,
Mhm.
because they induced a lot of ideas that were actually giving them control, but I had no idea what was real or not anymore. And then so I needed to redirect. So I went into Neville. Neville was my rescue. It was my yes, Josiah was really fulfilling his mission, changing my life. And so I was read and my mother was also listening to Josiah, even though she is a Chinese speaking lady. She's into Seth, and she was like,
Mhm.
whoa, like Josiah has such a soothing voice, and it's just like such a perfect voice if you want to listen to an audiobook. And I was just listening to him day and night. And then guess what? I had a dream of my father. It
Mm.
came in, and it's very interesting, because if one day I get to share a photo of my father, he looks like a Chinese version of Neville. He actually looks,
Oh,
my mom thinks that he looks like Neville.
wow. Your
Yeah,
mom thinks that your dad looks like, oh, okay. All right.
he
Yeah.
looks like
That's
Neville.
so cool.
And he's also like a very rightful man. Like my father was very righteous, very rightful, very polite. Um, and he came into my dream looking like Neville and himself. And then he said, if it's long, then wait, for
Yes.
it is for sure and it won't be late. And I
Yes.
woke up with that line. I'm like, oh, that was very important. That was very
Yes.
important. And so I started to apply Neville's teachings. I came back. I reinvented myself. I started to really acknowledge all the states, all the false identities. I was believing in them. And I think like teachers and students alike of manifesting a Neville, I would like to share that when it comes to some of the psychotherapists and psychologists communities, I found that like psychologists have such a deep knowledge of psychoanalysis and maybe some of the four states that they have assumed. For example, I'm not in love, I'm not enough, I'm not loved, I am alone. Like this, I had myself,
Mhm.
but they didn't know how to change or transform that either.
Mhm. They can
And
see it, they can
yes,
identify it. Oh,
yes,
this is your problem. But in terms of actually shifting it, yeah.
no clue. Correct. Yeah. And I was the same. I was like that. So I was really, I was really determined to shifting my states. And so eventually I knew I completely shifted my states. I completely canceled out anything I used to believe. And then I created a course called Last Stop True Love. And
Mm,
I only had two American students because it was mainly conducted in the two Chinese languages, one in Cantonese and one in Mandarin. And I didn't ever really have done any marketing in English. So I had two American students, and one of them is already married with their dream love, with their perfect
mhm,
lover, and the other one is in a relationship with her perfect lover. So
mhm,
I would consider that very helpful. But I was the one who was transformed. It
mhm,
transformed those identities.
mm,
And so right before that was like leading up to right before I met Josiah, I felt so free. I was free like a bird. Now I know I can be anybody. Now
mm,
I can have anything. I'm no longer bound by those states anymore. I knew I was free. And that's exactly when I started to come into Josiah's community. I did Josiah's next level Neville course.
mhm,
And then I went into Josiah's community, and every week I was having new insights and new understanding. And by July 4th, that was the day I didn't know it had anything. I mean, of course, it's the Independence Day, and now
Independence
I
Day.
am American too. But
Mhm,
that when that happened, I was still in Hong Kong. I was in a lockdown. I was living in a hotel for a year. I just decided I'm going to manifest my marriage now, and it's
mm.
going to happen before my 42nd birthday on December 1st. So I
Wow.
was turning 42 on
Manifest
December.
by a specific date, and it was later that year. Within 6 months, I'm gonna manifest my marriage.
Yeah, that was
That's
July 4th,
bold.
and I
I
would be
love that
married
boldness.
for December 1st. Yes.
That's so bold, Angela. I love that. That's the brazen impudence that we talk about, that Neville's like boldly assumed, like, hey, I'm in lockdown. I'm in a hotel in Hong Kong. The whole world's shut down. I'm going to manifest my marriage and it's going to be done within 6 months.
It's
Okay.
crazy. Yeah, now I don't know where that came from, but yeah, I must have been pretty awakened at that point. Like imagine imagine just being in a community and learning continuously. Like this thing really brainwash you into your power mode. Like you are in your power
Yeah.
center when you keep inducing yourself with Neville and Neville's teachings and his words, and
Yeah.
you practice, and you become a powerhouse yourself. Like you're
Yeah.
like one with your higher self. And then so I decided that. And yes, of course, I'm going to share with everyone what I'm going to do, what I was going to do at that point.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I even share on a social media platform saying, I know what I'm going to do right now. And I can't wait to tell everybody how I did it. And a friend actually screen capped that and posted it on my wall after I got married. Angela, see, this is I've
Hey.
been following you, and this is what you said before you even met your husband. You're really walking the talk. I'm gonna do what you're gonna do. I'm gonna do what you were doing. I'm like,
Mhm.
wow. Yeah. So I think these stories really inspire people.
Mm,
So I started doing something called embodiment,
mm,
which I think everyone is already familiar with.
mm,
What I thought was the most complicated on my end was I knew my problem so well. So I was living in my traumas for too long. I didn't even know how it feels to be with someone in a marriage. Like,
Mhm.
I thought that would be the hardest thing to manifest because I've never been a wife. How am I going to embody an identity as a wife if I've never been a wife? I thought that was
Yes.
very, yeah, that was actually a big one for me. Like, I think, okay, but if I know what it feels like to be a wife, if I know what it feels like to be together all the time, remember, I was always alone.
Mhm.
If I know what it feels like to be each other's perfect complement,
Mhm.
if I know how it feels like to completely understand each other, to completely support each other, to work through difficulties and challenges together, if I know what it feels like to have a family together, that he's my home and I'm his home,
Mm.
then I will be able to manifest it. Then I'll be able to manifest it. So I spent a long period of time, I mean 2 weeks, every
Mhm.
day, started journaling what it would look like if there's this version of Angela, and remember, we're only moving into different versions of ourselves.
Yes.
And so I was believing that this version of Angela already exists, and all I needed to do was to know what she knows. So give it to me, give it to me. So I would imagine myself being her, and then I would write down all the characteristics of this marriage. How do we live together? How do we communicate? How do we have fun? Do we have the same dreams together? How do we work out difficulties? How do our personalities drive together? How do our pros and cons intertwine with each other? How do we live and manifest our wealth together and to have children together? So I started making a very wholesome picture of the married Angela. And I assume that it's already here. And so I know, I know, I know. And then after I've done all of that, I started doing the embodiment. And one of the embodiment exercises, practices I did was, and very, very potent exercise that I did was the inner conversation. If
Mhm.
everyone remembers, isn't it wonderful? The Neville's inner conversation. So I started really be serious. I was very serious about what I would say if I am this beloved wife who is with my husband every day and night because I was always alone. I want to be together all the time and be perfectly together, like happily together all the time because we're perfectly complementary to each other. We're perfectly compatible. Um, so there are these feelings. Then I started to work on different inner conversation, and I started to embody the feelings of my wish fulfilled. Embodying the feelings of my wish fulfilled. And to be honest, I had to watch some movies to help me do that.
Mhm. Mhm.
I have a list of love movies that I use
Can you
to help.
give us like 3 or 4? Just rapid fire 3 or 4.
Cinderella from Disney.
Yep.
I wanted that feeling when Cinderella actually walked into the room and the prince had all these princesses and he couldn't even see
Mm.
anybody but
Mm.
and
Yes.
that orchestra music came into the background, and that feeling of I found you, I see you, and you are the one.
Yes.
I It's so funny because Spotify showed me that in 2022 that was my top played song.
The Cinderella song?
Cinderella original soundtrack.
That's amazing. Because it okay, so the artists that, this Cinderella is a love story, right? So the artists that are writing the orchestra music, they're embodying this really rich, deep love as they're writing and performing the music. So now you're taking those vibes and you're filling your space with those vibes and you're dreaming into this version of yourself that you know already exists
Yes,
of being the perfect partner. And that's part of how you are becoming in body as the version of Angela that is already partnered and married and living as one with her soulmate.
yes, that's correct. That's
Beautiful.
correct.
Yeah.
And I believe also whatever the twin flame code told me about twin flame, I just wrote all of those characteristics. I mean,
Mhm.
people want the concept of like soulmate and twin flame, but in the end, it's like, how would you define this is your soulmate of twin
Mhm.
flame? Most Chinese people don't know this answer because they
Yeah.
like the
How would you
concept of
know? Yeah,
when I
it's a
ask,
fun
how do
idea, but how would
you
you
know?
know? Yeah.
Yeah, how would you know?
Mhm.
So I'm like, we're 200% compatible. We're made for each other. He's my highest soul match.
Mm.
He can read my mind. Whatever I'm
Mm.
thinking, he's thinking the same. Whatever I'm doing, he's doing the same. Like I would just write all those characteristics and then wear the identity. And there was another exercise that I also started doing. I was writing my inner conversation on the iPhone almost every hour. It would just take me 5 minutes of a day,
Mhm.
but I would anchor myself. Okay, let's just set the timer. Then, like, I would write 5 minutes of how I would feel being in this marriage and
Yes.
what am I going through now? What am I experiencing now? So I would actually use all of my day embodying my wish fulfilled. And then, of course, then sets. Set, I did a sit up meditation. I didn't fall asleep because I realized whenever I lie down, I would actually fall asleep. So I sat up and I would meditate and I would do the Cinderella scene before I went to sleep. And so that's what I did. And then suddenly I got called by Amazon to go to LA for the filming, and I
Mhm.
was resisting it. It was until I was invited by Josiah to come to the retreat in Manla in New
Mhm.
York, in upstate New York, that I reconsidered coming to America because I thought, well, if I could do both at the same time, it was in the same month, one at the beginning of September, one at the end of September, and then it may be worth flying. But I was still wondering, and then suddenly Amazon was giving me a bigger deal, like we'll give you all this money and fly you business class to make sure you come over. I'm like, okay, it looks like the whole universe is pushing me there. And what is
Mhm.
very interesting, Josiah, I probably almost missed saying about my manifesting my husband. I needed him to be a Hong Kong citizen because I
Mm.
knew for so long that I was not belonging. I didn't belong. And I realized the more, like, especially the last one, which was the Dark Night of the Soul, a Swedish boy who didn't even know where Hong Kong was.
Yeah.
He thought it was in Japan.
Yeah.
And what am I doing? He spoke 4 languages other than English, like just not English.
Mm.
Like,
Wow.
what am I doing? Like, that
Mm.
was like a outright fourth stage manifestation there.
Yeah.
Um, so
So
I was,
let's pause here. I want to kind of weave this in real tight here because I feel like we're right on the juice of this conversation. So it's 2020. We all know what happened in 2020. You're in the middle of it and probably in some ways the epicenter of it. It was probably stricter there than a lot of places in the world. So you're basically confined to quarters. You're in a hotel
yes,
and it's July 4th. And
yes.
you've been through a dark night of the soul, the twin flame thing, has gone away. You're now back in Hong Kong after living in Sweden, living in Greece. All of that fell apart. You're back in Hong Kong, you're locked down, and it's July, and you're like, I'm going to manifest my marriage. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready to be one with someone else. And instead of being I, me, and mine, I'm ready for us, we, and ours. I'm ready to make that shift in my reality. And so you begin a process of embodiment. And that process of embodiment, just to be really clear here, you went from thinking of, oh, soulmate, like, that's something that people have. Marriage, oh, that's something that people do. I wonder what that's like. And you switched from thinking of to thinking from. And by thinking from, you went from, oh, maybe, I wish I had that. You went to, now I do have that. Here's how I feel. And now you're journaling from. You're saying, I'm so happy and grateful, that I have this perfect match. And like you said, we're sharing thoughts. Whatever I'm thinking, he's thinking the same thing. we're navigating life together. This is how we handle even when we have disagreements. This is how we handle it. This is how we're building our life together. This is how we're building our wealth together. This is how we're building our family together. This is, how we're navigating. And then you put this little extra requirement, you tack it right on the end. Oh, and by the way, universe, he has to be a Hong Kong citizen.
Yes.
And so you're deep in this process. You're doing it every day, basically on the hour. You're sitting on your phone. You're listening to the Cinderella soundtrack, which is the most love-inspiring orchestral music you can imagine. So much so, you have it on 24/7 to the point where, Spotify is surfacing it as your top track for the year. It hits your top, right? Your
Yes.
record list. And you're really stewing in this. And then Amazon reaches out to you and is like, hey, remember that twin flame cult thing? We want to interview. And you're like, no, I'm doing my thing. I'm so busy manifesting my partner. And they're
Yes.
like, okay, well, we'll sweeten the deal. Like, we really want you to come over.
Yes.
And
And you're right on, Josiah.
my
If
partner
I
must
want
be
a
over
Hong Kong
there.
citizen, what am I doing in America?
Yeah, you're just thinking I'm just doing my thing. And so the universe is like, hey, Angela, hey, it's, you've aligned with it. It's here. This version of yourself, you are now it. Time to walk the bridge of incidence. Okay, so Amazon is inviting you, and you're also in my class,
Yes.
and we're talking about the portal retreat, and you're
Yes.
invited to the portal retreat. Okay,
Yes.
continue.
And
Yes.
and I think you nailed something really important that I would love to share with most ladies who have talked to me. I did nothing. I did nothing in terms of physical action. I wasn't
You weren't on
on any
Tinder. You're not
match.com.
you're not
No,
making online dating profiles.
no.
You're not, putting yourself at the bar, looking all pretty, hoping some man will
Actually,
walk
the
up.
bars
Right?
were all shut down. All bars were
Right. Well,
shut
you
down
couldn't,
because
right?
of
You couldn't.
COVID.
You're
Yeah.
stuck in a hotel room. Yeah.
We were in lockdown. We couldn't even go for dinners because
Mm,
all the restaurants shut at 6
mm,
p.m. and only
yes.
takeout was available.
Yeah.
So I don't know where, I don't know where, I don't know how, I don't know who, but I knew it was going to happen because I was about 1 month. For 1 month, you would see no evidence in the physical reality. But when you embody your wish fulfill, you know it's happening. Like
Mm,
you change without knowing how you change. You just know that you are in a whole new world. It's about to pop. How do I know what I was doing in America? I'm marrying a Hong Kong citizen. I don't know, but it seems like a divinely led event. Let's just do it. Let's just do it. And so the bridge of incident started. I flew there to LA, did the filming, and afterwards I was still hanging around. I was hanging in LA. But actually my husband was in LA in a biohacking summit in Los Angeles,
mm.
and I didn't like. There was it was actually Neville's. It was Neville. I mixed up Josiah and Neville. It was Josiah's secretary who was in LA with me. She was helping Josiah. She was his secretary. And then she told me she was meeting this person at the biohacking summit, and that was actually my husband.
Your
And
husband to be, but you didn't know yet.
I didn't know yet, and I'm like, oh, enjoy. I'm just like, I'm done with the filming. I'm not going to summits. I'm just going to shop at the shopping mall and go
Yeah.
to Cheesecake Factory.
Yes.
I was just
Right.
enjoying being in America.
Sure.
And then what was very interesting was what happened at the beginning was some of my exes started contacting me, and they were all in America. They wanted to hang out with me. I'm like, oh, something is happening.
Mm,
And I easily said, oh, thank you very much, but I'm busy. It was a very easy no to me because they were exes for a reason.
mm, mhm.
I knew I am not who I used to be. And so there's no reason that they are a match to me, to the me now. But I knew that was meaning a breach of incident, meaning it was happening. And right before I met my husband, I was actually on the aeroplane flying to New York and to meet with Josiah and the group. And on that plane trip, I changed my seat last minute to sit further to the front. And I remember then there was this really buff, handsome man sat next to me, and he said, did you just move your seat last minute? Because I remember this was empty. I'm like, oh, you're right. And then the plane has some technical issues. So we were delayed for an hour, just sitting there for an hour. So we started chatting with each other. And he told me he was a lawyer in he was also born in my year, like he was born in the same year. He showed me his driver's license. All these synchronicities. I'm like, wow, getting so close, huh?
Mhm, mhm,
And he seemed like a wonderful man. Like I have like only good things to say about him.
mhm.
But in the end, I realized that he was American working in America. He was not a Hong Kong citizen.
So sorry, buddy. Yeah. Get to the back of the line. Yeah.
But I stick
Yeah.
to my manifesting.
Yeah, you got yeah.
It's
Yep.
important. I so like the next day, I remember him inviting me for a date, inviting me out on a date. He was serious. He was a serious guy, and so I also realized then like every man that showed up in my life started to become very serious because I'm now a wife. I'm not
Yes,
a
you're in
girl.
that
I'm
state. Mhm.
yes. I it's written on my forehead.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
I'm
in the
a
crown.
wife.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
I've worn the crown of a wife.
Yes.
And then the next day when he messaged me, uh, I just politely said, like, you're so amazing. So many women would love to be with you, but I know who I'm going to marry. So I have to politely decline. You be with someone so much better than myself. Like, that's what I said. And if
Mm.
he ever watches this podcast, he knows what happened. There's nothing wrong with him.
Yes.
And then the week after, we're in New York and New York City. I even remember the day before we went up to Manila, I was out with a friend of mine. She flew in from Vancouver to take me out to see Moulin Rouge. She's like, "You'll be bursting with love after you've watched this Broadway show." And that was the night before I went to Manila.
Yeah.
Next morning, so I was bursting in love after watching Moulin Rouge. And the next day, um, I was supposed to go into this lady's car, and I don't know why the last minute I was notified to go into this guy's car, and this is the location. So I was dragging my suitcase all the way to 43rd Street of Manhattan City.
The last minute change in logistics. So you were supposed to carpool with a
Uh-huh.
woman up to Menla,
Yes.
and maybe Jennifer's on this live stream, although she's in Ireland. So,
Yeah.
watch
The
tomorrow.
best-selling
Jennifer,
author,
you're
Jennifer. Yeah.
now you know why Angela didn't make it to your car. It was the last minute change of
And I
logistics.
felt really sorry. I think she was a little bit like confused, and I
Mhm.
didn't know how to apologize enough to her. Like I felt that I caused her a lot of inconvenience. But
Mhm.
then I just dragged the suitcase to many streets and all the way to 43rd Street, Manhattan. And there I ended up in front of the high-rise building where my husband grew up since he was 8 years old,
Wow.
and I was delivered there like
Like
Amazon Prime. Amazon
surprise.
Prime.
Yes.
And it's so strange because I remember I remember something that was still during the time when I was seeking my twin flame soulmate, that I was trying to understand, like, how do I know when I meet him? Like, how do I know? Oh, look into his eyes, because the eyes are the window to the soul.
Yeah.
So I remember I couldn't take my eyes off his eyes. That's all I could remember. That moment of everybody getting the suitcases into the car, and many people chatting, shaking hands, and so that was not just like me and him. It
Mhm.
was
Mhm.
actually several people were carpooling together, and
Mhm.
my husband was the driver. He
Mhm.
was driving us up to Menla. And
Mhm.
then he told me he was a Hong Kong citizen.
Okay. Okay.
That was still okay. I was still waiting. I was still waiting. I'm like, huh, interesting. Until so we were like very I was 100% present at the retreat. So I wasn't thinking about romance or anything. I'll be like, think about it later when I get back to
Mhm.
Hong Kong.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I was at the retreat, and
So the
wow,
retreat was called the Portal Retreat. Okay.
the
So
border retreat.
this was a 5-day retreat we did at a retreat center called Menla in the Catskill Mountains of New York. So it's this beautiful, it's in the valley between the mountains, beautiful, feels very remote, very connected to nature. We were the only group on site during those 5 days. We had the whole place to ourselves. And the theme of the retreat was a deep exploration of state akin to sleep, the portal state, hence the name, the Portal Retreat. So we spent a lot of time doing deep dive meditations, laying on our mats, did brainwave tracks. We did light-based brainwave entrainment, which of course that's a little teaser for what Tamer is going to talk about. I'm sure you'll say a little bit about that too. But it was a very deep exploration of these states as a group in a guided, separate container of space in a retreat. So that was the theme of the week, right? So like you said, you're
Yeah,
fully present for that. It was a lot. It was a
I
lot
was
to be
fully
present to.
present.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was fully present. Yes, Tamer would tell everyone the rest of the story.
Mm.
On my end, I knew that I met the one on the portal day. We were doing a
Mm.
special bonfire dance, remember?
Yes, the
And
bonfire.
we were burning away everything we didn't want anymore in our lives and to announce who we are now.
Yes.
And I know that night I met the one. And I remember
Mm.
because I was so honored, my cabin was right next to Josiah and Carrie. I remember that night I was calling my mom because she's in Hong Kong. She still is.
The
We
middle of
were
the night. Yeah.
it was 3 a.m. Like we were doing this crazy bonfire. It was like blast. It was a party. Went to bed at 3. I was chatting with my husband till 3. We were, wow, the stars. Remember, Josiah, the
Oh,
stars of the
were
sky.
stunning.
It
Yes.
was insane. We saw so many shooting stars. I
Mhm.
was chatting with him and we were sharing a lot of values. And then I knew this was the one because
Mhm.
of chatting with him and his vision and his dreams and what we had been through each almost like simultaneous life lived in separate locations. And
Mhm.
his office was right across my office in Hong Kong,
Wow.
looking over each other for 6 years and we never met.
Amazing. Right there the whole
Right
time,
there.
but
The
until you
whole
were ready, right?
I
And then
wasn't
when it
he
was, yeah,
wasn't.
how
He wasn't,
beautiful.
I wasn't, and it was so funny. Even to the right across the street, there is this. They are all high rise. They are all high rise buildings in Hong Kong. There
Mhm.
is high rise building with like 10 different levels of massage parlors for office people to do their foot massage. For like if you want to run for an hour break and go back
Mhm.
to your office. And we have a membership on floor 12, both of us, and we never met. I went almost every day. I never met
Uh-huh.
him.
You probably literally walked past each other and never met. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly
Amazing.
what happened.
Mhm.
Exactly what happened. And so I was calling my mom at 3 a.m. and I told her, Mom, I met the one. And she believed me. I met the one. Josiah was sleeping next door. So I did.
You're whispering into the phone, "I met the one."
That was so fun. Then I remember him saying to me that he's just back in LA now. He's working for a biotechnology company and he's on a project building a house for his potential family. So looking like he's building a family.
Mhm. He's in the
And
state also, yes.
yeah, and he invited me like if you can come live with me, I would know in 6 months and I won't waste your time.
Mhm.
And like if we live together, I would know in 6 months and I would not waste your time. And I said, okay. I knew that's fine. I already knew he was the one. And
Mhm.
actually, when I decided to do that, I knew we would be engaged within 1 month and then we'll be married before my birthday because that was what I was manifesting.
Mhm, yes.
So,
You
what,
knew. Even if he was like, "I need 6 months," you're like, "I know what's gonna happen."
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. Because that was the beginning of my manifesting. So,
Mhm.
then in like after the retreat, oh, that bridge of incident has to come from him. But he was supposed to go to Japan, but the Japanese embassy lost his passport.
Of course.
So he had to stay for an extra week to get an emergency passport. And so
Mm,
we had an extra week to be together and to
yes.
check out that new home. and I got the keys to the home.
Yes.
And he flew to Japan, I flew to Hong Kong. Later in the month, I flew to Japan to join him, and then we got engaged exactly 1 month after we met.
Mhm.
And then, of course, then we went back to LA, went to the registry to check out if we could. Actually, we wanted to be married on 11/11, but we didn't know it was actually a public holiday. It was a Veterans Day. The registry said, no, no, but we only have one date available for you guys. It's the 30th, November 30th. That's exactly the day before my birthday.
What?
And then we got married on that day.
And in July, you had said, I'm going to be married by my 42nd
Before
birthday.
my 42nd birthday.
And the
I was
day
40,
before
the last day
was
of
the,
21.
oh my goodness. If you are loving this interview, smash that thumbs up button, everybody. Smash the thumbs up button. This is amazing. Wow.
I love it.
What an
Thank
amazing story. I just have to say, from my perspective, so I'm in retreat host mode, right? So I'm very focused on, like, the logistics and everything. But obviously I saw sparks flying and I was like, okay, these two, like, wow, like clearly there's this, very beautiful, powerful attraction here. And I didn't know what would come of it, right? Like I just saw the first stages, honored to witness the first stages of something so beautiful. And then obviously, you go on and you do your thing. And then I'm just getting, a picture sent to the WhatsApp group for the retreat of like the engagement ring. And you're just like, hey, we got engaged. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. Like they're, and then you got married. And so then like so this is the first time we've really sat down and you've told me the whole story of like how everything came to go there together. So I'm just blown away by this. This is amazing. The bridge
so
and
grateful I
it's
could
so
share.
rich. Yes.
Yeah, and Josiah, you were the cause of all of this. Like without Benla, we wouldn't be here. Oh my goodness, you
So
were.
Shwetha's in the chat. So Shwetha and I were talking about this earlier, right? So we were having a little conversation, Shwetha and I, and we were like, so who manifested whom, right? Because Shwetha had the idea to do the Mad Mystic of Manhattan tour, and I had the idea to do the Portal Retreat, and then we put our heads together and we are like, hey, let's do these back to back, right? So we
Like
thought
Neville
that
and
it
his
was
brother.
our
Neville and his
desire,
brother, right?
yeah. And so we
Remember,
thought it was
Shweta?
our desire, but then now you're like, hey, no, I manifested you doing this. So we're like, whose desire was this? Like who was the bridge of incidents and who was the originator of the desire? Right. So it's like we thought that we were doing it because we wanted to, and you're like, no, you were my bridge of incidents. I manifested you doing it. Right. So it's just, where do these ideas even come from? I think that's just beautiful.
I know it's up until now. Oh, thank you. I see some of the audience appears over. Oh, I promise you, you just apply, you do the work, you would be in awe. What do we use the universe or God or the divine can give you beyond your imagination? I remember telling my mother when I was getting my wedding dress with her in Hong Kong. um I'm not sure if I manifested him. He's like, she said, why would you even doubt? I'm like, it feels like I could only imagine about 30% of this could be what this could be. I thought I actually had a catch-all provision in my manifesting. I do journaling
Catch-all
and
provision.
catch-all provision. I said,
Okay.
he is everything I ever wanted. I'm like, okay, the catch-all provision.
That is a catch-all. Yeah, everything I ever wanted. Yes, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. So I realized there were things that I never even imagined possible showed up in my husband. One of them being, this would be very interesting to all of Josiah's audience. He is at my level of consciousness spiritually because I in my industry, especially in law, in finance, I rarely met men like that. Men who have done the work and who have really put in the effort to overcome their childhood wounds and their parents' relationships and know exactly what they want in a woman. I have not met many conscious men. So like Josiah
Mm.
is a very rare species. My husband is a very rare species, and I know like
Mm.
all the. It's like meeting a conscious man was not in my agenda. I did not know it would happen. And then another thing that was very interesting, like all the things I ever wanted. For example, my father and my brother are musicians. They could pick up any instrument to play. I could not play, and I always wanted to have my husband play music. Like so,
Yeah.
then remember Tamer brought his guitar. he,
Yes, he brought his
he
guitar. Yes.
he plays guitar. Yeah.
Wow.
I did not know that I really wanted. So that's another thing. My father was an entrepreneur. My brother was an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. Like I think it takes a certain kind of personality and spirit to be an entrepreneur. So I really do want to be with an entrepreneur, somebody who is not afraid to knock on door and turn over stone. That's
Yes.
kind of personality, right? It's a
Yes.
personality trait.
Yes.
And then my husband is that I actually never even dated a man who was an entrepreneur in my past. Isn't that
Mhm.
interesting? Then that's
Wow.
why I asked my mom, I'm like, was it supposed to happen anyway without me manifesting?
Of
So hard
course.
to tell. Almost like I think
Yes.
30%, but it came in 100.
100%. Wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you for the comments.
Yeah.
Um, so the a lot of so maybe we can start some Q&A if Josiah feels that this.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So this is the chance for any of you in the audience who are really enjoying this love story. If you have any questions or comments for Angela, go ahead and put them in the chat now, and I'm going to surface them and we'll have a little discussion. But while we're waiting for that, because there's a little bit of a delay here on the live, again, I want to remind everybody. So we've had the great pleasure of listening to Angela's side of the story tonight, and in 2 weeks, we're going to have Tamer in the hot seat, and we're going to hear the story from his perspective. And I'm very, very, very much looking forward to that. And I know he's in the background. Okay, so Angela, you and Tamer got engaged, you got married, and then you got pregnant and you gave birth to a beautiful baby boy who just turned 1. And you are
Yes,
connected now from your home in Florida. And Tamer is in the background caring for the baby. The baby's sleeping right now, but he's playing daddy right now. And so he's in the background. So we're giving all of our love to Tamer as well. It's
thank you.
very much looking forward to having him on. Okay, so let's see what we have in the chat here. So a lot of comments. So several people, well, actually, I think definitely Shweta. I don't know who else. So I sent the invite to the Porter Retreat family. I don't know who else from the Porter Retreat is on the live stream. But Shweta says, I noticed that people experienced the fruits of their state deeply at Portal. Many people experience a potent shift in their stories depending on their states. I've learned a lot from this 2 years later. So I went through the same thing. I experienced that. I definitely learned a lot from that experience and grew a lot out of that experience. And I think everybody who participated in that definitely grew a lot from that experience. It was you want to talk about a catalyst? Come to a Portal Retreat. A Portal Retreat is probably one of the most powerful chosen catalysts that you can go through. You
Yeah.
can go through. So Shweta's question is, if you're consciously aware that conscious men are rare, how do we tune into that reality that feels rare?
I love this question so much because this is not only for Sweta about conscious men are rare, because a lot of women are like, oh, single men are rare. Like I'm in my
Mm,
40s.
right.
So like any type good looking men are rare, or like
Mhm,
men who do not take drugs, do not drink alcohol are rare. Like
mhm,
a lot
mhm.
of rareness, and it's all just coming from exactly our 4 stage of scarcity. Because if we remember the reality is only the content of our consciousness, then you know what you have in your consciousness, you have in your reality. So what then you must only need to do is to know what it feels like to be with a conscious man. What does it feel like? What do I feel? How do I feel? What do I feel like as a wife, as a woman, as a girlfriend, if I'm with a conscious man? So would that be a good answer to that question? What
Absolutely. I think
would
that's
I
absolutely perfect. Yeah.
feel? Yeah, what would I feel? And all
What would
you
I
need
feel?
to
Yeah.
practice that over and over.
Practice it. Yes, practice being with a conscious man. Yes. So it's not about the illusion of scarcity. I love how you said that. It's so beautiful. You said it so perfectly. It's not about the illusion of scarcity. It's not about, saying, "Oh, this type of person is rare, that type of Look, you can have exactly what you want. As Angela said, she was like, "I was only conscious of 30%, and then I put a catch-all. He's everything I ever wanted to get to that 100%." You can have exactly what you want. The content is in your own consciousness. You just have to become the person who is with that other half.
Yes, yes, that's right, that's right. So how do I feel being with this person? Instead of manipulating, because almost like a conscious man is, how do I visualize a conscious man? That was my question in the past. How do I visualize a man
Mhm,
who is intelligent, is non-visible, right? It's something that is
mhm,
a conceptual thing, but
mhm.
I can nail how I feel being with him. If I know how I feel being with him, yes, very
Yes.
helpful. Then you got it. You got it, girl.
Angela, can you repeat some of those questions that you were asking yourself to get into the wife state? Repeat some of those
Yeah.
questions. Yeah.
Some of those questions would include what does our life look like? How do we see each other? How does he see me? How do I see him? How do we live our life? How do we have a family together? Do we manifest our dreams together? How do we manifest our dreams together? Do we have the same visions? Do we think like each other? Do we feel each other? How do we function together? How do we do life together? And how do we handle difficulties and challenges together? So I just imagine all of those, any corner I could think of, and conjure a very clear picture of the version of myself as a very, very much loved wife.
Mhm, mhm.
And
Beautiful.
that question that we just had from Sweta was so amazing too, because I realized every trait that you put down, you can embody to a T.
Mhm,
And I guess I'll also share, because Josiah will share in the end, that a year after our marriage, I did that was when I was heavily pregnant in my third trimester.
mhm,
I created the last love course called 88
mhm.
Days Love Miracles, because it took me exactly 88 days to get my husband. And
Really?
it was all about what I did during that
Mhm,
time and how to embody a new identity. How do I
mhm,
embody a new identity? That I
mhm,
am enough, that I am loved. Like, how do you
mhm,
do that? Because it's so conceptual. Again, how do I become this person? And
mhm,
then how do I embody every trait of this marriage and my husband? Like, how do you make that a physical sensation? That's why it's called embodiment.
physical
So you can
sensation.
feel it
Yes.
in the body. Yes, make it a physical sensation. So when Neville says feeling is the secret, that is the key. It has to be a physical sensation.
Mhm.
Maybe a
Beautiful.
butterfly in your stomach. But
Yeah.
that feeling of being loved and safe and secure, the feeling of togetherness, there's a feeling of togetherness. There's
Mhm,
a feeling of being loved. There's a feeling of being the center of his universe. So,
mm.
how do you create that? And then, how do you embody every part of it? I created a course called 88 Days Love Miracles for it.
Mhm. So that course, there's a link to it in the video description. If you feel, if you're listening to Angela and you're like, hey, I could learn from this person is my teacher, you're feeling that resonance, that connection, there's a link to her course in the video description. And if you use the coupon code Josiah, you get a special discount for being a part of this community and being on this live stream. So go ahead and check that out if that resonates. I have a couple other questions I'm going to read off to you, Angela. Orlena is asking, what were your thoughts for getting your body back?
That's such a wonderful question. All I did, I know that this is about the body, was to remember my identity.
Remember my identity.
Who were you before you got pregnant? I
Mhm.
was light like a fairy, and I will be the same. Like I just trust that.
Yes.
Assumption becomes fact. I just
Mm.
assume. And also there was another part that was very helpful because I was already assuming that. Then I met Tamer's grandma during Thanksgiving.
Mhm.
Oh, the weight will come off you. You just breastfeed and it will come off you. You do something like laundry, it would just disappear.
Mhm.
That's what she said. And she
Yeah.
has 7 kids. And
Hey.
because she has
Yeah.
7 kids and she said that, I'm like, all right, I believe you.
Yeah. The voice of experience. Yes.
Yeah.
That's
So I
great.
just assume that I am who I am.
Mhm.
I think maybe the part that moms who have had a baby trip up on the body thing is they believe having a body makes them different, or they believe having a baby, their body
Mhm.
is hard for them to go back to how it was before,
Mhm.
or that now I need to do something to lose weight.
Mhm.
Like they are focusing on I don't have my ideal body.
Yes. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, perfect. Thank you for that answer. From Marcio in the chat, what helped you turn your attention away from the undesirable state of being alone and lonely, not loved, not worthy, etc., when it felt more real than the state of wife?
Thank you for such an amazing question and from a conscious man. Thank you very much.
Yes.
So first of all, for the first question about how did I turn my attention away from my undesirable states, it took me years to discover how to do it, and finally I did it. That was that first course, Last Stop True Love, and it's also under Josiah's description. That was
Mhm.
the course that transformed my identity. So simply put, if you know where that all came from,
Mm.
like why would I feel like I don't belong? And first of all, like I was sharing my national identity problem, and probably all Hong Kong people feel the same.
Yeah.
And then i I was also, there were also a lot of stories that would support that same full state. For example, my mother just wanted me to be in a school, like a public school. But then I was also a figure skater. So every day she came to pick me up in her car and went to the ring for skating. And I lost all my friends because they felt like you have mommy to pick you up. We have to take public transport. And I'm
Mm.
like, nobody likes me here. So
Mm.
all these childhood experiences added up to my fourth stage of I don't belong, and the fourth stage of I'm not wanted. Like I'm not
Mm.
wanted here. I'm alone. Like leaving me alone. No one wants to play with me.
Mhm.
When I realized what really happened that supported this stage, and why did I have this stage to begin with? Oh my goodness. And then you see through it. All right. That's what happened during childhood.
Mhm.
But means nothing about who I am now. I'm sure right now I am a very wanted person because I am kind, I'm friendly. Everyone wants to be with me. In fact, when I went to college away from Hong Kong, all my friends at college wanted to be my friends. So this is like an example, like you start to see through. There was a very, very old stage from a childhood misunderstanding. It was an old stage that does not no longer apply in your current life, and then you get yourself out of it and you do not buy it anymore, you don't trust it anymore, and you ask yourself what is really true right now, like
Mhm.
currently your current life, what is really true right now.
Mhm.
And then but that was really helpful. What is the most important is to know how to embody the new state.
Mhm.
What does it feel like if you are worthy? How does it feel like? How does it feel? How would you talk to yourself? That's when the inner conversation comes in.
Yes.
How do you? I had a student who had her coaching session this morning from China. It was quite cute because she, like, little did she know that She imagined there was a power, like superstitious Chinese culture. She imagined there was a power bigger than her that
Mm,
she had to fight against, including not letting her have her true love. And
mm,
then when she's walking on the street, she noticed that she had these demonic thoughts in her head that said, "Nobody loves me. Where do I find a man?" And then she said, "Oh, I've already worked through that. How come it keeps coming back to haunt me? These thoughts keep
mhm,
coming back to haunt me." I'm like,
mhm,
wait a second. Like all the while she was still trying to hunt down those thoughts. I'm like, but what you resist persists. Those thoughts are not what you're hunting down. It's the stage behind those thoughts that you have to shift. You still believe there are thoughts in your head that have more power than yourself that you have to
mhm,
fight against. That's the problem. I'm like, who was thinking those thoughts? Me? I'm like, anyone else other than yourself? No. I'm like, okay. So there is only me thinking these thoughts, and I don't have to think them anymore. Then she
mm,
suddenly felt like, wow, that's really powerful. I didn't think about it that way. She thought that there was an outer power that had
mhm,
demonic thoughts haunting her.
mhm,
And then I said, wow, no, like it's only your voice. So now you just have
mm,
to remind yourself only I'm talking to myself. And,
mm,
and then she didn't know that, like, because of that, that she could not control the voices in her head. And she kept running the inner conversation of, where is my man? Nobody loves me. Where's my man? Nobody.
mm,
And now I told her to have a conversation with herself whenever she could catch herself, say, I'm feeling love like I never have before. Thank you.
mhm.
I finally have the love I have wanted all my life. If you say that, you cannot feel how you used to feel, right?
Yes.
It's really fun to be able to create the right inner conversations for you.
Yes. Beautiful. Beautiful. I love that answer. Thank you. Thank you so much for
Thank
that,
you so much.
Angela. Okay, couple more questions coming in here. Do you think it helped that you had quiet, isolated time in 2020? Do you think that like having that space away from your life helped you to shift the states?
I love that question. I wonder, um, that's interesting. Um, maybe it happened at
Mm,
the right time.
it
Maybe.
certainly did. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it certainly did. Also, it's almost like I think it's from every angle because I was just telling Josiah today that I'm practicing the stage of I live in a life of miracles. I live in a
Mhm.
life of miracles. It's filled with miracles. And from this angle, from this perspective, I only see that everything is supporting me. Like life is
Mm,
supporting me. So that I would say yes. Like from this
yes.
angle, I'm like, wow, almost like life offer me the time and space to actually um, construct my perfect marriage and then manifest it. But if it's somebody who is thinking that I'm bad luck, like I always have bad luck, why is it me? Why is it always me? All
Mm,
they can think of is, why am I manifesting love when I'm under a lockdown? I can't
mm,
even go to the bar to meet a man. I
mhm,
can't even go to parties. We had a restricted dinner rule. Only two people can have dinner until 6
mhm,
p.m.
mhm,
And no, you cannot sit more than two people. And
mhm,
and like they can also equally complain, oh, why do I have to wear a face mask all day so nobody can see my beautiful face?
mhm.
I think it's really the perspective of that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answered the question. I hope it
I
did.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, another question from Michelle. Was your husband consciously seeking a relationship also? So we're going to hear from Tamer from his, he's going to share his own perspective in 2 weeks. But what would you say, Angela? Was he? You said he was building a house for his family, like his future family. So he was, yes,
He was very clear and knowing exactly what he wanted.
yes.
He wasn't. I wouldn't say that he was seeking. I feel like
Ah, yes,
seeking was not. It's not the word that a Neville student should use.
that's a good
Um,
point.
it's a good reminder. It's a very subtle word because seeking is I don't have.
Yes,
I'm
I'm
looking
looking
for.
for. I'm in the state of
Yeah,
looking. Yep.
yeah.
Was he expecting?
Embodiment is. I remind you. Please allow me to remind you what Neville said. All you are doing is in the power of awareness. Well, I was
Mm,
crazy going on the Daily Neville that Josiah was doing. It was his first video series that he was on
mhm.
screen, as I remember.
Yes.
And I remember Neville actually said in Power of Awareness that what you are doing is to become the person who have the thing you
Mhm,
want.
mhm, mhm,
And Josiah, remember, I also share with him. Now I remember when I was coming into the student group meetings remotely from Hong Kong, from the hotel room in the middle of the night, and everybody was from
mhm,
everywhere else in the world. There were several ladies, some of them may be watching this podcast right now, were wearing a physical ring on their
mhm,
wedding finger.
mhm,
And I was the one and only person who did not do that. Because
mhm.
I remember Neville said it's an imaginary ring. Huh? Am I supposed to wear a ring? Nah, don't worry about it.
Mhm,
I know what to do. And then
mhm,
in the end, yeah, so a lot of the physical things are completely unnecessary. But all you must remember is you have what you're seeking right now. You have it now.
Yes.
And if you are still seeking, you are still not having. Like you're in at the beginning of the journey.
Mhm,
You're not at the in the end. You're not thinking from the end. You're
mhm,
thinking you are thinking from the beginning. If
mhm,
you're seeking a soulmate, you're thinking from the beginning. If
mhm,
you think from the end, you'll be like, I'm so loved. I'm so
mhm,
happy to have my perfect lover.
mhm. That's beautiful. Yes. Okay. So I was just looking at the video description. So there are the links to the two courses. You talked about 88 days magic love course and then also last stop love.
Yes.
Can you distinguish the difference between those two courses?
Yes, the Last Stop True Love course was created right after I transformed my full state as a
Mm,
deep identity because I knew I get who I am. Everyone is me pushed out.
who I am.
So
Yes.
almost like I'm alone, I'm alone. Then I keep getting men who are unavailable for me, physically
Yes.
or mentally or emotionally
Yes.
unavailable.
Yes.
And so how I transformed it step by step, that I never had to suffer from my past patterns anymore. Then
Yes.
that became Last Stop True Love. Almost immediately after I woke up from that, I'm like, I need to share this to the world before I forget. So I
Mhm,
created a 12 weeks course called Last Stop True Love.
mhm,
And then 5 months after that, I was manifesting my marriage.
mhm,
And then a year after my marriage, I created the last course called 88 Days
mhm,
Love Miracle, like 88 days, because I took 88 days to manifest my marriage. And
mhm,
so the 88 days is all about embodiment. How do you now you're free to be everyone you want. Like you can be
mhm,
anybody. You can
mhm.
have anything you want. Now what?
Yes.
Then how do I go from that ground zero to the marriage? How do I craft it? How do I create it? How do I create every detail? What do I have to remember? What mindset I was carrying? What attitude? What practices? And how do I do it? How do I embody every single feature of my marriage into the Neville's practice? How do I do it in practicality all the way up until Manda? Oh,
Yeah.
here you are.
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. Okay, so those links. Okay, so the both of those courses, you think that anyone, whether
Yeah,
you identify as a man or a woman, anybody would get a lot of.
anybody
Yeah,
suitable. Yeah,
beautiful. Okay,
anyone.
perfect. Did you ever doubt or kind of fall out of your ideal state? And if so, how did you deal with that?
My dear, I did not, and I tell you why.
Mm,
Because I actually spun out of my fourth stage already. So I think
mm,
this question is based on a baseline belief of your relationship with life or your power to manifest.
okay.
And that comes from what I was talking about the fourth stage. It's the same thing as I'm powerless, I'm alone, I'm not loved. It's the same thing. Once you have moved out of that and you're in your power mode, you are unstoppable. Oh, by the way, that's another thing I was doing. I just kept watching the what was yeah, because of Winter Olympics. And then like I was watching the
Mm,
ice skating, I was a figure skater, and
mhm.
there was this song from Sia called Unstoppable. I'm
Yeah,
unstoppable.
yeah,
So that was like really empowering for me to
yeah.
listen to it. So you are unstoppable. And that is, yeah, I think that question just like if you doubt or feel it's the same thing as my student who had a session this morning. Is that
Mm,
little monster still lurking in the back, saying that you are not God of your reality. You don't create your
mm,
reality, and
mm,
your reality is not just your consciousness. There are other factors.
mm,
Then it would be, then that would be part of the four stage that I was talking about. It would be
mm,
part of the core four stages or patterns
mm.
that I was talking about. You're
Yeah.
so welcome.
Yes. Okay. Last question. Was engaging in the inner conversation easier for you than visualizing the desired state before sleep?
This is a very beautiful question. Thank
Mhm.
you so much. I would say yes, especially for love.
Mm.
And I did not know who my husband was. That's why also in 88 days, I share what I use. For example, the movies that I used. And then I became, what was very interesting, what was my Chinese student said, my husband looks a lot like the Cinderella prince.
He
And
does. Tamer absolutely does look like the Cinderella prince. Yes.
that is so
100%.
crazy.
He
So
really
I
does.
put myself into the female character of the movie
Mm, you
and I
did.
saw the prince, but only just to hone in on the state.
Mhm.
I would say that love is very hard to visualize. Almost to me, it's unimaginable. Like, what are you supposed to see? But
Mm,
many people are visual. I'm not exactly visual. Other
mm,
than that time when I manifested myself passing the New York bar, I could see my name on
mm,
the board. Other
mhm,
than that, it's very easy. Love is sort of a complex thing to visualize, especially if you have 100 features for your husband. How are you going to visualize that person being 100 things you want?
right.
Yeah, so inner conversation and embodiment, and also if you are able to do the practices I laid out in the course, I have a part about how I constructed the perfect picture, and then you already have the perfect picture. You don't have to visualize anymore, and then you just embody what do I feel like when I am with him, when I have this person to
Mm,
myself. Yeah,
mhm.
every single day and night,
Yes.
or your specific person, same thing.
Yes.
It's so funny, right?
Truly anything is possible. Yes. Okay. So those courses really based on your personal life experience, and then obviously this penetrating ability to really see the root, the cause, the source of self-concept and beliefs and how that creates reality.
Yes.
They're really beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for creating
Thank
those
you so
and
much.
offering them. So those links are in the video description. Again, use that coupon code Josiah to get a special discount if this resonates with you, you decide to roll with it. Okay, so any final thoughts as we wrap up this part one? Looking forward to part two with Tamer. Any final thoughts you would like to share with us, Angela?
I would like to know, for anyone who is watching this live, if you could tell Josiah you want to have your marriage this year because you have time.
Mm.
Would you like to have your person or your marriage this year or next year?
Put it in the chat if you're ready. If you are ready, right? You're in the state of I'm ready. Put it in the chat. Say I'm ready. I want to see that too. I want to see who's ready. I love that. Yeah. Who's ready to self-volunteer? I'm ready. Shweta goes, why does that make me so shy? Oh my God. Okay. All right. We've got the conscious man. He's ready. Marcio's ready.
Yay! We have a conscious man who is ready.
Elena's ready.
Oh my
Jeannie's
goodness.
ready. Anna's ready.
Oh,
Marcio's ready.
I'm so
Maya's
ready. I
ready.
love it.
Ready. She is ready for me. That's the spirit, Marcio. You're getting it. Yes, you've gotten it.
She's manifesting you.
She's gonna be watching this live stream tomorrow, being like, wow, that Marcio guy. How can I Amazon Prime that?
That's my dream man. Ready, ready, yay!
Orlena's like, next year. I'll get married next year, Orlena says. Okay, that's great.
I'm ready.
Fran Angelico
Oh,
says, I've
wow.
already got it. Yes. Yes,
Wow.
yes,
So
yes. My
touching.
dad's like, girl, hurry up.
It's one of those Asian dads, huh?
Yeah, Indian dad. Yep. Uh, Stasio's ready. Beautiful. What an
Josiah,
awesome prompt there. Yeah.
Josiah, I feel like probably like both of our one of our life missions is actually just to tell people you can have it. You can. It's
Yes.
very easy. When
Yes.
you're on the other side, you look back, you know it's very easy. You just need someone to tell you what to do exactly. It's
Yes.
very easy. Yeah. I hope everyone get your marriage like now.
Yes.
You're so welcome. So grateful for this. So welcome. Thank you, Josiah. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. It has been such a pleasure having you with us tonight. And I loved your story. I love how instructional and just your penetrating clarity about what the state is, and just really being able to surface the key parts of so that each of us can walk away from this feeling inspired. I knew that was going to be how it would be tonight. That's the intention that
Oh,
I set, and we definitely delivered on that promise. So thank you for joining us. Thank you also to everybody on
so much.
YouTube.
An
The
honor.
beautiful have such an amazing community here on YouTube. I love you all. You're just the best. Thank you to everybody who's joined the channel and has been with us tonight. And very much looking forward in 2 weeks, Tamer on Neville and Chill Live, sharing from his man perspective the same story but through his eyes. This will be very
Oh, that's
awesome
so
part
good.
two. I can't wait.
I
So
can't
good.
wait either. I have to watch the replay.
You're gonna have to, because you'll be with the baby. Yeah.
Oh, Carrie
Awesome.
is here too. So thank you and love you so much, Portal friends and friends from Josiah's community. I cannot wait to do so much more with you and Josiah, and to see everyone have their love miracles. That would be so like we live in the perfect world. You can have anything you want. Why
Mm,
settle? Just have that perfect love like
mm,
now.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, everybody. All right. Until next time, looking forward to seeing all of you at Sunday Mystery School. That's our next live stream, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday. And then in 2 weeks, we'll be back with Neville and Chill. I say 2 weeks because we have a very special day happening in the United States of America next Tuesday. You all know what it is. I don't have to say it. So we're going to take a break there so that everybody has a chance to go and be a citizen and do their citizen activities. And then 2 weeks, we'll have Tamer back on. Until then, imagine wisely, my friends, and we will see you all in the next. Good night, everyone.
Good night.